During this pandemic, only people with kids should be able to watch any streaming service, and nothing for the people who are alone and single. Families need Netflix or Disney Plus more. It's annoying to see a grown single adult sharing what they're watching on Disney Plus when that streaming service was made only for kids. I have 3 little ones at home and another on the way. We deserve this service over single and alones with no kids. Hey sunshines, good to see you again. So I found that little bit of insanity on Twitter this morning, and I thought, let's talk about it. Obviously, things are crazy. You know, we get a virus running around. It's tough on everyone, varying degrees. But I want to talk about the type of person who would put out that particular message. I don't know who it is. By the time I saw it, I believe it is a her, but her face and everything was and name were covered up, so I have no idea who it is. Don't try and find out. Don't try and, harass her. Everybody has a bad moment. I want to talk about the entitlement of parents. Not all parents, yada yada. I'm not putting you on blast if you're a parent. You do you, but I've worked in the service industry for a long time. I've been out in the world, and I am childless, unless you count my little fur baby right here. And if you have a problem with me saying fur baby, feel free to click off this video, because he is my baby. So anyway, yeah, I find this whole sort of entitlement of parents very interesting. And I've run into it in big and small ways throughout my life. There's this level of entitlement that certain parents have that is just insane. And I remember seeing, part of the reason I saw this tweet is because a lot of childless millennials kind of were sort of passing around another tweet by a similar type of person saying that Disney World is made for children and she hates seeing like childless people there and yada yada. And number one, Disney World is not made for children. Like very specifically, Walt wanted, all sorts of people to be able to go there. So just as an aside, actually the first person to be let into Disneyland was, for the time, it was like, I think he was like a 17-year-old guy, who's by himself. So, the history of childless people going to Disney is from literally the very beginning. So that's just a little bit of an aside. As for whether Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus is made for children, I hate to break it to you, ma'am, but all those things were made for one reason and one reason only: to make money for the company. They don't care who's watching. They don't care if your kids are watching. They don't care if somebody just turns on all of their televisions with the channel on and plays it for their fur baby or for their robot dog. Disney could not care less as long as you are paying them. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not like calling Disney out for it. They're a company, like they're supposed to be trying to make money. But this idea that Disney is yours for your kids and only you is absurd. And one of the things that I kind of find interesting about people with children versus not with children, there are some things I do believe that, we the childless, intentionally or not intentionally childless, do kind of owe society. It's like, yep, our taxes go to schools that we don't have children for. That's fine, of course. I would like humanity to go on past me. It needs, kids to grow up with an education. I'm all for that. Like we will pay into things that, children who are not ours are going to get. That's fine. That's part of being in a society. But on the flip side, I remember one thing, picture this incident, but like a dozen times, but this was one of the early ones and it just stuck in my memory. So I was doing a catered event at, I want to say it was MIT, the university. It was like a reunion, something like that. And it was this huge event, and it was relatively open. So to keep random people from just walking in and getting food, they forced everybody to purchase their plates over at like the front of the tent. Even though the tent was open, there was like a clear front, and we, as the people working there, were told to like direct people to the front. You know, they'd get their plate and they could eat at that point. Okay, fair enough. So people start coming, and I'm directing them all to the front, and this woman goes and, number one, tries to use her hand, which is immensely unsanitary. And I understand, you know, we were not in a pandemic at the time. This was like 15 years ago. But it doesn't matter. You don't stick your hand in food that everybody is going to eat. Yuck. So she goes, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, you know, ma'am, there are no plates because you have to buy them up front. You know, head on right over there. And she starts screaming at me that her children are hungry, and how dare I not give her a plate. In this event, I said, well, it is a paid-for event. Like, this is only for the people who paid for that part of the reunion. I got to admit, I haven't been to any of my college reunions, so I don't really know how this is normally done. But I guess there are like lots of events, and sometimes multiple reunions can go to one or whatever. So they knew that there were a lot of people on campus, and they didn't want just anybody eating the food. But this woman felt that she had kids, and so it was our responsibility to feed her. Now, I was actually managing that event, so I kind of was trying to be as diplomatic as possible, but this is the response that I wanted to give her, although I did not. Yeah, it's not my responsibility to feed your kids. Even back then, and again, I say I have never had a child. I used to carry granola bars in my backpack in case, you know, especially because I'm a Disney person, like if you were walking around Disney or something, you would have a snack. I also knew that I worked in the type of environment where I often wouldn't, I worked in catering, and yet I know it sounds insane, eating is like a horrible thing because sometimes you just can't find time. There's like a ton of food, but it's never going to get to your mouth. So I used to carry granola bars, something I could eat really fast. I had friends with kids, so, you know, if I knew we were going on a picnic with them, I'd make sure to bring extras. And, you know, my cousin, who was amazing at this, always had everything for her daughter, like in a bag or whatever. And my feeling was, and to this day still is, yeah, your bad parenting is not my responsibility. I did not choose to have children. You chose this. With the very few exceptions of somebody who literally couldn't get a word or adopt out or like something, you made that decision to have a child. Sometimes it's more difficult than others, but it's not the rest of us' responsibility to, and I'm not talking about like this woman was starving on the street, homeless, and she was asking, this woman was wearing more jewelry than I have ever owned in my life. So it's, you know, it's not like she couldn't afford it. She just felt she shouldn't have to be bothered with going over there to pay. And I don't even think she was part of the event. She's like, I'm not planning on going here. I just need food for my kids. Again, rather than my little baby is getting, he's protecting the house. So we have a word for that. When you take something that's not yours, it's stealing. I don't care if you're stealing it for your children, you're stealing. So I guess getting back to the tweet, it's just that like, that overwhelming feeling of like it's the rest of us' responsibility to care for and occupy somebody's child. I also am really not sure why this person is so angry. I don't know, maybe I watch a lot of YouTube. I haven't had a problem, you know, streaming. My roommate and I do have Disney Plus, and we love it. We also have Amazon Prime and Netflix. So, you know, like, we have the television going. I have it on in the background when I'm doing stuff quite often. And thus far, even with lots of people using it and a lot of people home, we have not had a problem. I guess in some places that are more densely populated, they have had problems. with, service and that kind of thing. And to me, get mad at your cable provider or your internet provider or Disney for not having a website capable of handling the traffic. Don't get mad at other random people who don't have kids, yet who also enjoy entertainment. Like, that's ridiculous. Also, does that mean that she believes that, like, when she's older and her kids are grown, she's no longer allowed to consume content? Like, is her mother allowed to consume content? Because her mother had kids, but she doesn't have kids now. So if her grandkids aren't with her, does she get to? I mean, it's just such a stupid thing to say. And I go back to, you made the choice to have kids. Sometimes it's going to be difficult. My mom, loves to talk about the fact of how much she loved having kids and everything. But she acknowledges that at times my brother and I could be a little bit difficult. That it's part and parcel. Like, you made the choice to have kids. And I understand it's not the same thing. I made the choice to get Sunshine, whom I love more than life. Sometimes he's what my friend likes to call a scucciolagazza. I think it's an Italian word. Basically a little pain in the tuchus. And yes, he's looking at me like with, his big brown eyes like, who, me? Yes, sometimes you are a little pain in the tush. He pees where he's not supposed to. He barks at anybody who comes even remotely close to our house. And I understand I could do more training and everything, but your kids could not watch TV. That is a reasonable thing as well. I don't know. I just felt like chatting about it for a little bit because I thought it was kind of in the midst of this like craziness and like, people being angry and scared for like, let's face it, like far more important details. This whole idea that this woman would tweet out like, only we are allowed to watch Disney Plus, nobody else. Like, how do you think Disney is the largest company in the world just by selling to kids, 18 and under, or like the people with children? Like, no, that wouldn't do it. So it's just, on top of everything else, it's insane. I'm sorry, but one of the dumbest things, like unimportantly dumb, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I saw it and I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, there is a level of, again, not just entitlement, but like, I don't know, an inflated sense of your own importance that goes into it. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, I bet it's this race or this whatever from this country. Although, well, I can probably guess, but whatever, because I think we all have that inflated sense at times about certain things. But this one was just so odd and so like just sure of herself. Like, this is like, nobody can do this. I'm like, okay, well, relax. Look at this face. Look, ma'am, if you need to relax, look at this face. How, like, seriously, how could you not find this? Oh no, oof. How could you not find this? Like, the cutest thing ever. Oh, thank you. Oh, yes. Mwah. Oof. So, anyway, Sunshine and I are going to be signing off. I believe I am now going to have to chase him around the house because that is my job as his mom. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Stay safe. Check out my links below. There's Patreon. Share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. If you are an entitled parent or you know any entitled parent, I would love to find out. And stay safe. Keep social distancing. We will get through this. And see you next time. Bye. Sunshine. Oh! Oh, yeah. Look over there. Look. No? Is that a good dustpan and brush? Is it yummy? Yeah. Yeah.